Take your last big puff of that thing because we're live. Welcome.
Won't be the last one. Is that a dream
Welcome.
catcher? What is
Yeah,
that?
it's a dream catcher. Welcome to the podcast, Neil. Thanks for showing up this time.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So for the people out there listening, this is my co-host, Neil, who decided to quit doing podcasting before we even started, but I appreciate you showing up for this one episode.
Hey, I was reliable for a half a day.
Half a day. He ordered all the equipment, had it shipped to his house, computer, microphone, camera, like the whole 9 yards. And then he texted me, "Hey, bro, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this podcasting thing."
Yeah, I got a new job. I can't disclose the location, but as soon as I move there, I'd love to do a follow-up podcast and tell you guys all about it.
Right on. So Neil is one of my Army buddies. We served together in Iraq in 2003, 2004. We were the 2632nd Transportation Company, but, we like to talk about our time in Tiger Team together. We were like the special forces of the National Guard.
We were nothing close.
I mean, we were pretty high speed. We used to take our tabs off, our names and our rank, and just go into the chow hall with our 9 mils, and people would be like, "Oh, who are these guys? They must be National Guard." So I met Neil back in probably February of 2003 is when we got mobilized. Yep. And went to Camp Roberts, California. Did a little time out there. I don't really remember you too much. I was hanging out with my big friend Ben at the time. I didn't really get to know you honestly until we got into Iraq. I had built a wooden hut away from everybody else, and Neil wanted to be away from everybody, so he started hanging out with me, hanging out in my hut, and we became fast friends. But yeah. So I do remember you at Fort Lewis. You had a daughter while we were preparing to go to Iraq. You were married at the time. She was pregnant while we were getting ready to deploy. And then you ended up leaving Fort Lewis for that birth.
Yeah, it was a crazy time. When we got the order, she was like 8 months pregnant. And as my first kid, we were getting ready to fly out to Iraq at any second. And then I get the call that she's going into labor, and I think it was like a Friday night. And so I looked online, saw that there was a flight that I could catch. I had time. And we weren't supposed to leave anywhere. And so I ran around all my buddies, just told them to cover for me, and I'd be back the next day. And the doctor was even working with us to kind of try to delay it so that she knew our situation. She knew I was coming. So they were kind of holding off on, usually they give, I forget the name of the medication, but to induce labor.
Yeah. It's not prednisone.
No, it's not prednisone.
I'm not a doctor.
It helps induce contractions and, helps speed things up. So she was kind of like holding off on that. But her water had already broke. She's already dilated like way far. Yeah. And
how long was she in labor for?
Not very long. So right when I got there, my daughter popped out like within an hour. Wow. But yeah, so everybody covered for me. So essentially I went AWOL and flew home to California, made it just in time, saw my daughter be born, spent the night, and then was able to fly back the next day without incident.
I mean, obviously you have duty to your country, and but that's got to be pretty rough, man.
Yeah, it was hard. It was the hardest flight I've ever taken in my life. I definitely missed out on the whole first year of her life, but I mean, that sucks. But fast forward where I'm at today, it's all right. No regrets, man.
Yeah, she doesn't remember.
No.
But still,
Yeah.
but I couldn't imagine. And I mean, kudos to you. That would have been hard. And I'm surprised she could hang on that long, because my wife, we just had a baby girl 3 years ago now. So the middle of the night, I wake up and go into the bathroom because the light's on, and my wife's in there, and she's like, I was like, "What's going on?" She's like, "I don't know. I feel like I got to push." I was like, "What?"
Go.
You got to push. So I was like, we jumped in the car, and literally from on my Ring camera, from the time we left the house till the time she was born, we have the timestamp of us leaving and then a picture of us holding her, and it was like 23 minutes. And we walked in and to the ER or to the birthing center, and they're like, "Here, you need to fill out this paperwork." And we're like, "Okay, put us in a room right now." And dude, her doctor somehow made it. He lived like 4 minutes away, and but insane. So for your wife, ex-wife, to hang on that long, I mean, that must have been 8 hours, something like that, to get a flight from SeaTac down to Fresno. There had to be that wasn't a direct flight, right?
Yeah, it was a direct flight.
It was. Wow.
Yeah.
You got
Is the
lucky, man.
medication called Pitocin?
Yeah, that's the one. Did you look that
Okay.
up?
No, because
No,
I'm on
it
my
is
phone, so I
Pitocin.
can't look anything up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at the big brains on you. You must be in the medical field.
Yeah.
No? You
Yes, I
were.
am.
Oh, you are.
Yeah, I should know this stuff.
So we went from Fort Lewis, and then spent a year in Iraq together. I really got to know you pretty well there.
So
Yeah,
let's dive into Iraq.
let's go.
All
Good
right.
times. What was your first mission in Iraq? Do you remember?
I just remember coming up to the border from Kuwait, going in Iraq, and as you come up, you see these berms with a little opening, and then there was this little security guard hut where the Kuwaiti police were. And there was like three guards there, and they're literally 50 yards, 100 yards from an active war zone. And we know that based off the Kuwaiti and Iraqi history, they're not best friends. But these guys are just like chilling there, smoking cigarettes. I don't even think they had a gun on them. And
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, we're about ready to enter into a war zone. So that was kind of weird. And then so we're just driving by them, and I remember going through that berm, and then right as you got through the other side of it, there was this big ditch, probably 70 feet wide, like 30 feet
Oh
deep.
yeah.
So
Yep.
to stop the tanks from being able to just cross over, they were kind of it forced them to get bottlenecked right there. And then right as we went through, right off to the right, there was a car sticking nose up out of the ground,
Yeah.
and it was still like smoking.
Yeah.
And I saw that car, and I was like, "Oh, like, dude, what I had a saw." And so I
Yeah.
checked the saw, and I'm like, "Oh, is this like, you know, is a real deal? Like, got to get
Yeah.
ready."
You're
You
in a
know,
war zone now.
yeah, I got like real puckered. It's go time.
Yeah.
But and I just remember kids rushing us, a lot of young kids, and just seeing like very poor kids begging for food and just super sad. But going from there, we went to a place called Dogwood.
Was that the place with the lake?
No,
No.
it was this little like off the side of the road, little military base. I think we just like spent the night there a couple nights,
Yeah, that's right.
and it was called Dogwood. What you're thinking of is Redskin.
Yeah.
So we ended up there a couple days later. Um, but yeah, as far as like saying, but we didn't we didn't get into any firefights or nothing happened. It
No.
was
It was
uneventful. Thank God.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember we ended up at Redskin, which was an old what was it like air base?
Yeah, I think it was an
Kinda.
airbase, and it had a big lake there. And I remember you had to drive down this road through all those bombs. Do you remember all those
Yes,
bombs that were just
like
everywhere?
and they tried to bury him.
Everywhere. No, man, there was freaking bombs everywhere. And
Yes,
we went down to the lake, and we were all swimming in the lake. And I don't know if it's true or a rumor, but later on, somebody said they found that's where Saddam used to dump a bunch of bodies in that lake, and we were out there just swimming around in there and shaving. And
It was his private lake. I know
yeah,
that. He had there was a
palace or
palace
whatever.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't there very long, and then we went from there to we went straight to Camp Anaconda from there, right?
Yeah, but let's go back there real quick.
Yeah.
So we lived in a hangar, and so we would take, and there was no perimeter.
Yeah.
And we
There
were out there.
wasn't.
There's only one other unit out there. 101st Airborne was there,
Yeah.
just like a platoon. So it was
Yep.
just us and a platoon. I think they were they like engineers or were they infantry? I don't know.
I don't recall. Yeah.
But it was an old Air Force base, but we didn't have any air
There
support
was,
there or
yeah,
anything.
there wasn't a perimeter. I remember we had
No.
to do night watch or whatever.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm leading up to. So I
yeah,
remember at night we'd have to pull security and we'd
yeah,
rotate,
yep,
and all we had was a 50 cal on top of the hangar that
yeah,
was pointed out towards our perimeter, I guess. But our perimeter
yeah,
was right there. That was
yeah.
the first line of
I
defense.
I remember sitting up there at night, and all of us just watching all these tracers.
And
Through there
yeah,
was some sort of city that was off in the distance, and
the lights would come on and go. Like
yeah,
there was like two towns. So right where that's at, we were right
yeah,
between Ramadi and Fallujah.
okay,
We were
yeah.
like dead smack in the center. And so
Yeah, the lights, they were fighting over the power base
power
or
grid,
power.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But it was so surreal because this is like our third day in country. We're
yeah,
sitting up there, 22 years old, with our buddy that's 22 with a 50 cal, and everyone, we got night vision, but you can't see that far with them.
no, no,
And so really, you could almost see better without them.
yeah,
And just trying to look off in the distance, make sure nobody's like trying to creep up. Everybody's asleep. So nobody's going to wake up until you let that 50 cal go. So you got a huge responsibility. And
yeah. Here's the secret. I probably wasn't paying attention that much up there on the hill. I was looking at the stars and the tracers and shit. I wasn't paying attention to what's going on right in front of me. I could have got crept up on.
yeah, I was on guard, man. But yeah, there was definitely a fire show going on the whole time.
Oh,
You'd
for
see
sure.
like bombs in the distance, tracers. You'd all of a sudden see just rounds coming from the sky where the Apaches would start lighting stuff up.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't see the Apache, but you just see
No,
all of a sudden these rounds just coming from nowhere in the sky.
yeah.
And
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So remember the radio?
The
That
radio.
the Air Force network? And they used to,
AFN. Yeah.
yeah, and they would send out the codes.
I don't remember that, man.
Yeah,
But
all of a sudden you'd be listening to music and it would stop and they'd send out like I don't know the terminology, but like secured codes to somebody out in the field or something.
oh yeah.
And
Wow.
yeah,
I don't
it was
recall that, but I have
it
early
wasn't to us
onset
because
dementia.
I wasn't able to decipher it, but or important enough. But it was just I guess the whole thing, it was just surreal being out there and just
Yeah, I
but
just remember getting our first hot meal because that's what I care about. Like, oh,
oh, that took a long
we're
time. That
getting
was
some food. It was like a week or something, and it was in the freaking, what were those? Somebody hooked us up with, it wasn't a DFAC. No, they brought out just hot food to us, but it was dog
it was
shit,
basically
obviously.
like enlarged MREs that they heated up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure. Yeah. But
yeah.
we were excited about that. Yeah. That was good time. So yeah, then we left there and went to Camp Anaconda, and that's where we really first started getting actual missions and knew what we were going to be doing out there. And so we ended up doing convoy security for the whole time we were out there. We were basically, we were a transportation company, and 5 tons deuce. We didn't have any deuce and halves, but LMTVs, FMTVs, 5 tons, and some soft skin Humvees. And so we got tasked with providing convoy security for the host nationals, aka KBR, aka Dick Cheney's company. And make sure his shit gets to where it's supposed to be so he gets
Yeah,
paid.
absolutely.
Yeah. And so yeah, we did that. And then somebody had the bright idea that we should be kind of a quick reaction team. So they pulled the best of the best of the National Guard transportation company and put us all together. And I think we had 10 Humvees or something like that. And we'd pull about 3 guys per Humvee. And
Well, it
we
started
did
out
some,
like a pretty big, like we had a lot of volunteers, but
yeah,
I felt like it kind of died off. It ended up
yeah,
being like a core of about 9 or 10 people.
yeah, because
Yeah.
they were all hanging out at the hut and not wanting to do missions.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was a good job. We got kind of lucky, honestly.
Kept
It
us
was
busy.
busy as shit. I would
Mhm.
imagine people ask like, you know, oh, how many missions did you do? And honestly, I think me personally, and probably you too, we were there for 365 days or whatever it was, pretty close to that. And I would say 300 of those days I was on the road at least, like
Mhm.
doing missions every day, every day. There was no downtime. Like
No,
every once in a while you'd get pulled off of a mission. They're like, yeah, you need to do perimeter security or something. I only did that
I
like
did it
one
once.
one time. Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was exciting, you
And
know.
we went out there. I was with Anderson,
Yeah,
and he had a
lieutenant.
huh?
Lieutenant, not lieutenant,
No, no,
specialist.
the
Yeah,
specialist, and he
yeah,
had an M203,
yeah.
and he brought a bunch of grenades and smoke bombs and everything else.
To the perimeter.
We had nothing left in the morning.
You guys shot him off?
All of them.
Oh, geez.
Not because we got attacked. We were just
No.
yeah.
Yeah, now that I've like seen a lot of I don't know, YouTube videos and stuff, and the freaking surveillance and stuff they had going on there, they had to have seen us fucking around out there. Like they had, I don't know what the drones and stuff were like, but those Apaches flying around, they had to see people fucking lighting off stuff. That kind of reminds me, were you on that mission with us? So we were going to do a test fire with 3 Humvees. We're driving down the road and everybody's on the radio. We're like, yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Test fire, test fire. And then somebody comes across the radio and they're like, don't do it, don't do it. And somebody had already started test firing. Well, the reason they said don't do it is because there was 2 Iraqi police trucks in front of us. And as soon as the test fire went off, these 2 fucking trucks freaked out. The first one hit the brakes. The second one slammed into the back of it and wrecked. They both stopped in the middle of the road, jumped out, and took off running. And we were like, oh, fuck. Like, we just caused these dudes to wreck in their brand new Toyota
Toyota.
trucks. And they took off running. They didn't stay to fight, you know, even though there wasn't a fight. They just took
Of
off
course.
running. So we were just kind of fucking around. And then another convoy shows up behind ours and they're like, what's going on? We got 2 crashed Iraqi police trucks in front of us. We've been shooting and it's this whole other unit that just shows up and they were like infantry or something. They were much more high speed than us. And so we were like, yeah, I didn't say this. Somebody said this, you know, oh, we were taking fire from this building over here. You know, we shot at them. They ran off into the weeds and you know, we were
Never to
like,
be seen again.
it's time to go, you know, we're going to
Yeah.
go continue on our way. And they're like, oh no. So they jump on the radio. They call in the QRF team. They freeze the freaking highway. So we're waiting there. And now it's like an hour goes by. All of a sudden, this QRF shows up. They start clearing the area, and there's tons of just tall, you know, bushes everywhere. And they're like, go in there and clear, you know, these high speed guys are telling their own people to go in there and clear these bushes, you know. And this guy's like, I'm not fucking going there. Nobody wants to go in there. So they just light it up, just fucking mow down all these bushes, just mow it up. And then all of a sudden we do hear legitimate shooting off in the distance, which kind of made us go like, fuck yeah, dude, that kind of covers for us a little bit. And and then out of nowhere, all the like literally 2 Apache helicopters show up and they're circling above us. And we're just like, oh shit, this has gotten out of control. we went we went from doing a test fire to we got QRF and Apaches flying around and they're fucking mowing down the bushes. It was all bad. I think we were there for about 3 hours and then we had to go do a debrief and you know, everybody stuck to their story. And I think one of the individuals, not me, got a Army Achievement Medal. It's a good
That's
story.
awesome. That's a good
Yeah,
story.
it was pretty funny.
I was actually there.
Were you there?
Yeah.
Is this the same story you were talking
Yes.
about?
Yep.
Okay. Somebody
It
got
was
stabbed? I don't remember that.
yeah, yeah, I'll leave that out.
Gee, well, I just said it.
But that started out with the Mark 19, right?
Was it?
Yeah.
I think I was
And
the third vehicle in line.
and he lit up that corner. It was like a 3-4 story big like office
Yeah.
building looking thing. He
Yeah.
lit up the corner.
Yeah.
And then that convoy that pulled up,
Yeah.
they were infantry, and the guy that came up to us, he's a big old salty white mustache commander. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah. And I remember, yeah, I was there. I was on that one.
Okay. Yeah.
And I didn't get an award.
Yeah,
I
it wasn't
clarify,
you.
it was not
We're
me.
not we're not going to take your RCOM. I think I remember who it was, but
I'm pretty
we won't
sure I can guess.
say.
But I was on the 50 cal.
Were you?
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. We did actually see a little bit of real combat too, but that was just kind of a funny
Yeah.
thing that happened one day. So yeah, you were on a couple of interesting convoys. One of the missions you went on, I happened, so like I said earlier, I probably did 300 days worth of missions and never went to sick call, even though I was fucked up here and there, like everybody. Some of the guys were on sick call every single day, and other people were not. And Godspeed to those guys who were.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one of the sick call, the only sick call day I ever did, I went to the dentist, and because I had a massive toothache and it had been hurting forever, and I was like, you know what, like they were, our guys were like, hey McCoy, we need you to go on this mission. As usual, I'd always be like, yeah. And this one time I was like, you know what, dude, I gotta go to sick call. My freaking mouth hurts. And so I opted out of it. One of our boys, Monterey, he got in trouble for something, probably fighting. I don't freaking know why, but his punishment was you can't go on missions, which is kind of funny if you think about it. Like,
So he's gonna play Madden.
Yeah, he's got to stay home, play Madden, go to the
more shit.
Yeah, exactly. And for whatever reason, yeah, they were like, okay, Monterey, you're gonna take McCoy's spot, and you guys went out on a mission. I don't really know all the details, and you do, but that turned into
so it was something. It was a QRF call. There was a convoy that got hit, so we were going out there to assist if they need an assistant. Like, we were just going out there to assist in whatever they needed. And so it so happened that where he was at is where you would have been at, because that was your spot. So he got up in the gun mount, and he was on a saw, and up in the mount, and that's where you would have been, because he took your spot. And so we go into a town called Samara, which is in between Baghdad and Tikrit. And so we're going over there. We have coordinates. We're looking for this convoy that was ambushed or being ambushed. We didn't know. So we keep driving. We're sitting right on the coordinates. We don't see anything. We don't see remnants of, a post ambush. And we're like, what the heck? Do we have the right coordinates? We're trying to call in. Because as far as we know, these guys need help. They're stuck in the middle of this town. And So we're just kind of doing circles. And I remember about, I don't know, at this point, I was in the lead vehicle and I'm driving. And uh, I remember looking to the platoon sergeant that was sitting, he's considered the convoy commander, and I'm driving the vehicle. And I told him like 5 seconds before we get hit, I'm like, man, if they didn't know we were here before, they know we're here now. And I mean, it wasn't even 5 seconds. Boom, IED goes off. They're hitting on the roof, like waiting for the IED go off, and then they pop up and they start, we start getting small arms fire. And so we had to drive because we were lead vehicle. Usually they kind of, they line up daisy chains where they plant 4 or 5 IEDs. For those of you who don't know, improvised explosive devices. They bury them in the ground, remote detonate them, and it's a big bomb. But they'll do like 3 or 4, and a lot of times they only have one, but they're getting more complex and smarter about it. But this time, thank God, it was only one. We speed up, get out of the kill zone, come back around, and Monterey, who took your spot, got the worst of it. And so he took shrapnel. Pretty much his arm was just hanging off, hit the arteries, shooting out blood. And he got some other shrapnel and stuff, but I would say his arm injury was the worst. And so I pull right up on him, get out of the Hummer, run over there. We're taking fire and stuff, but he's actually yelling my name. And I hear him yelling my name, and so I run over there, and we have our tight core group, and a couple other guys, Monterey, we were like, it was our little crew.
Super tight. Yep.
Yeah, and that goes beyond brotherhood. And for anybody that served, like, you guys know what I'm talking about. And so run over there, I see him just bleeding everywhere, but he kind of had his arm like this, and the blood's shooting out, and it's going down his torso, and then it's growing.
Oh my God.
So it looked like when I ran up on him, I saw his arm kind of hanging off, but it looked like he took shrapnel like right into his stomach, and it's growing. It was just saturated and just kept filling up because of that artery that from his arm, it's, flowing down. And so I thought he was dying. And when I ran up on him, I just stopped. And, I'm 22 years old, never worked anything, a lick of medical, don't know anything. And especially with injuries of this, trauma like this, like, and I just froze. I looked at him, and like, I guess the hardest thing is like, I wanted to help him, but I just couldn't. I didn't know what to do. And then Sark runs up, and I'm kind of just like frozen there. Rounds going off like straight up, like what's the term for it? Shell shock, like straight up. Yeah, there's rounds going off there, and I'm just like stuck. And so Sark came up, put a tourniquet on him, got the bleeding stopped. But that out of everything, seen a lot of stuff. I would say seeing kids, obviously, really hard. And then that was really hard for me. Felt guilty about it for many years. Looking back now as a kid, no training, probably better off I didn't touch them. But
honestly, yeah.
But it's like running up on your brother, and you can't help him. It just sucks. Yeah. And it drove me, from that point on, I never wanted to feel like that again. And I just going to touch on it a little bit. We might touch on it more later, but I ended up going into healthcare, and that was a big motivator and reason why. So small arms fire, and we pick him up, load him up in the back of our Hummer, and I tell Anderson, who was up on the gun, you're going to drive, and I'm going to be back here with Monterey. So I got up on the gun, and on our way in, we'd passed a forward observation base, and it was a special forces unit that took over a house in Samara and just had this like little barricade, and they were there. But we knew that there was military presence there, and we needed help. We're calling on our SIN guards, and when you need the radio the most, they don't, we're not getting anything.
Doesn't work.
No.
Never works.
So we load him up, we start driving down there, and then as we get out of like the fire zone, and it's right around the corner. So we feel bad because we're leaving our team here, and there's still small arms fire and stuff going on. But we need to. He's going to bleed out. Like, we're going to lose him for sure. We need to get him out. We need to get him medevaced out, and our radios aren't working, so we got to get him out. As soon as we turn around the corner, this whole big group of people just fill the road and block us. So we have to stop, and they're cheering and like "F you" and "Death to America" and all this.
Ugh.
And so I'm on the gun. I think, what was I? Did I have a 50 cal or saw? I think maybe it was a saw. I don't remember. But anyways, I point down, and and this, like, as far
Yeah,
as I know, my
you're hyped up, ready to go.
yeah, my buddy's dying. These
Yeah.
people are blocking the road. They could have we just got hit. They could have, who knows who's got a bomb strapped to them. You don't know what the scenario is. But we need to go, and we need to get out, get out of danger, and we need to get back. So that's our scenario. So I point down the gun, and I'm about ready to just light it up, dude. Like, I'm so pissed. And right as I'm getting ready to pull the trigger, there's kids in the group,
Yeah. You can't.
and I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. So I just tip it down a little quick, like tip it down, which raises the barrel up, and I just started shooting right above their heads, and they just scattered like ants. And we shot through. I'm glad I saw the kids, because if I wouldn't have, and I would have started laying down lead, and yeah, I'm glad I don't have
Oh,
to live with that.
yeah. That's
But
horrific.
so we get over there, we get him help, and then this is when we find out that they're special forces, they're Green Berets. So we get in there, and we're like, hey, they're still taking small arms. We need to, and they have a medic there. So he jumps on Monterey, starts helping him. And they've got comms and everything. So they're getting Monterey medevaced out. And then they send a team with us to come assist us. So, I mean, we were in and out of there in like 20 seconds.
Wow.
And we knew he was in good hands, because those dudes are like doctors, man.
Oh, for
But
sure.
we wouldn't have left him, but we had to. Like,
Yeah, your
he's
boys are waiting for
secure.
you.
We got to get back. Yeah.
Yep.
So we get back. By the time we get back, they disperse, and then we had some Bradleys come. About three Bradleys showed up to
It's always
help us
nice to
out.
always nice to have some Bradley show up, help you
Yeah,
out.
but they didn't even fire off a round. Everything was done.
He got
So
he got medevaced out, and then
he gets medevaced out. Oh, but then we find out that the coordinates we had
yeah,
they were correct, but it was just super delayed. So they had been like, it was long gone for like 6 hours before
they already
I think
recovered the vehicle.
we ever even left the base to go help them
Wow.
out. So bad
Suicide
communication.
mission. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, kind of the story. Yeah. But Monterey did end up living. Actually saved his arm as well. He's got a lot of scarring, a lot of PTSD, and we all do. But yeah, so he's
So
actually, for the injuries he's got, he's doing pretty well.
good.
Yeah.
So and that was about what, a couple weeks before we were gonna leave country.
Hmm.
Shit was getting hot right before we left. I mean, it was heating up before we left, but it just went fucking south right after we left. I remember watching TV, and Fallujah and all that stuff was
Hmm.
happening
Like
right around that time.
2006.
Yeah. Well, it was 2000, yeah, 4, 5, 6 was just brutal over there. Luckily for me and you, we that was our only deployment over there, but that was
Hmm.
enough for me.
Yeah,
Um
for
so
sure.
we got back, and how was it? What'd you do when you got back initially? Like, we got home in what, June, July? What was it like then?
So first coming back, I thought I was cool. Like, I was happy to be home, eating good food. And I would say the first couple months, like, it was all right. Like, I noticed little things, but I just thought it was like just adjustment. Like, I not little things, but I remember even going to a restaurant, and I was having anxiety attacks with being around people, um, like, big time. And so I'm like, oh, this is just like adjustment. Obviously, I was in a war zone. Like,
Yeah.
you got to readjust, But you know, that you, after time goes by and that stuff doesn't, it's not going away, and other things are popping up, and it's intensifying. And I would say the more the longer I was home, the more the PTSD effects started showing themselves, or maybe I started realizing.
Yeah.
And it was about a year and a half later, I kind of walked into the VA just helpless, hopeless, and just needed help, man.
Yeah.
And you know, at this time, I'm still young, and you know, no plan. I knew I wanted to go into healthcare, but I was nowhere near there, going to school or anything. I was pretty jacked up, more than I even realized. Going to VA, and I was kind of like anti-VA. I'm like, man, I'm young, I'm strong, I don't need this shit. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um, finally, like like I said, helpless and hopeless, man. And you know, nothing I was trying was working, and I just was expecting like this readjustment phase to kind of take its course and, you know, be back to normal, but that just wasn't happening.
Yeah. So
And
kind of for me, so we got back. I lived in Davis, California, and then my whole plan was to join, become a police officer when we got back. That was like that was always my dream, always my goal. And so we came back and ended up moving over to Pleasant Hill, California, and I put myself. I signed up for the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Police Academy. You could put yourself through it, and I remember I was smoking like a chimney because that's all we did there. You know, I really wasn't working out very much. I think we were home for probably 3-4 months, and I think I was just sitting at home eating whatever the hell I wanted, you know, and smoking like a chimney. Signed up for the police academy, and I we get there, and I do about probably a week and a half, 2 weeks into the police academy. I'm just like, I'm not myself. I'm freaking out. Like I can't think straight. And I remember some young officer who was probably 23 years old. He was one of the trainers, you know, one of the instructors. And I remember him looking at me. He didn't know anything about me or my background or anything or where I had just come from. And he looked at me and he's like, I would never want to be in a like I don't know if he said firefight or something like that. He said that to my face, and this motherfucker, I knew for a fact he had never seen anything in his life. Like I just knew he was a you know straight edge police officer, just went through the academy, super squared away. So they're gonna make him an instructor, you know. And I fucking looked at this dude and I was like, I just turned around and walked away. And the next day I was like, that's it, dude. I'm turning my shit in because this isn't gonna end well. And I was very smart to do that because shit. We lived in I lived in Pleasant Hill for a while. I bought a mountain bike and so I don't know what I was thinking, but it was an apartment and I had this mountain bike, no space. It was a 1-bedroom apartment. So I chained the bike up out next in the carport where you park your car. And somebody came out, somebody had stolen my mountain bike the night before. I was fucking pissed, dude. I just bought this thing. It was chained up. They cut the chain. And so I'm human just thinking like, what the fuck, man, if I ever found this dude, you know, I would do something bad. And so, dude, it wasn't a week later all of a sudden, my girlfriend at the time, her car alarm starts going off at like 2 in the morning, and I knew it was her car alarm. And I'm ready. I'm ready. I've been waiting for these people. And so me and all my, you know, wasn't too intelligent at the time, having a little PTSD. I freaking grabbed a butcher knife and a BB gun, and I run downstairs, and I'm like, I'm in the trunk of her car is open, and I'm like, we lived in a gated apartment complex. It was pretty big. So I was like, I was probably down there in 35 seconds, dude. I was ready. And so I run down there and I'm looking all around and I'm I'm just full PTSD, dude. And got a butcher knife in my back pocket and a BB gun with no BBs in it in my hand, and I'm running around the apartment complex, and I look like I'm walking, I'm very silent, and all of a sudden I hear these twigs break, and it's down this hill, and I look, and I'm just full PTSD, dude, and I see these shadows down there, and I'm like, I fucking point the BB gun at him. Like, I fucking see you. I will blow your fucking head off if you make one move. And dude, lost my shit. And I pull these dudes, there's two of them. I pull these dudes up at BB gun point, and I have them laid out on the ground in the apartment complex in the grass. And now I'm like, I don't know what to do, because what do you do from there? Okay, you're laid out. I got a gun pointed at him.
Yeah, stay here while I go call the police.
And I'm pretty sure I told them, that I was an off-duty police officer. Now that I'm not in law enforcement anymore, I could say that. But so then I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I just start whistling really loud, and my ex drives up in my car, because I was around the backside of the complex, dude. I was hunting these people, and so I was like, call the police. So the freaking police, she calls 911. Police show up, and I'm like, now I got like this gun. It's California, butcher knife on my back pocket. So I just like throw it on the ground, and the cops are like, you freaking caught this dude? You caught these guys? Like, yeah. So anyway, so they arrested him, fingerprinted the car, took him to jail, and then yeah, when it got to the DA, the DA's like, fuck no, you pointed a gun at these people and splayed them out, and this is 20 years ago, so I'm good. Statute of limitations is up, bro. But yeah, just talking about
and
PTSD.
The Bay Area, man.
Oh, buddy,
liberal.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't show up and just shoot me. Like,
yeah,
literally.
That's what that's what I thought the story was. I thought they were going to arrest you.
I'm surprised they didn't, honestly. And yeah, took them to jail. But yeah, that so talking about a little bit of PTSD, I was in it there for a while, long while, honestly. It's been a very long time, and you and I both have worked on a lot of stuff and worked through those things. But yeah, man, freaking war will change you for sure.
I don't know. On that note, though, honestly, I've done a lot of work with veterans through Operation Surf, and met a lot of different guys. And one of the biggest problems, dude, I see with veterans is they like living it, man.
Yeah.
And I think some of the issues is like, they get monetary like benefits for being disabled. Like when you have PTSD, you get service connected, blah, 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 and you get paid. Well, they like wear it like a badge, and they live in it. And, for me, like, this was 20 years ago. Like,
for sure.
Yeah, I still deal with things, but it doesn't define who I am. Like, I don't, and I'm proud of my service. I'm a patriot, and I love the United States. I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to say I love our politics or anything like that, but as far as America goes, we live in the best country, man. There's not a country better than the United States. I'm a patriot, but I don't wear the belt buckles. I mean, my hat has camouflage on it. But
every time I see one of those hats, I'm like, Jandy, I'm gonna get one of those hats eventually. I'm gonna wear it. But that it does. It defines these guys. And I mean, everybody works through it. Sorry to
it's good
talking over you, but
I was getting to a point here.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, buddy.
No. Is there a delay?
No, I'm just an asshole. It's my podcast.
I was going somewhere with this.
Go for it, man.
It's all right. Let's go.
No, I'm sorry, man. It does become an identity for a lot of people, and they live in it. And I saw a dude the other day. He had the hat on, and I'm like, bro, you got to move. You have to move past it. You don't have to forget, but that you shouldn't let that define the rest of your life. There's so much more to life than just one one deployment, or even dudes who've had 3 or 4 deployments. Yeah, it's life changing, man. It sucks. Some of the shit we had to go through, and some of the, especially for, you know, my personal belief is the Iraq war was dog shit. Like, should have never happened. They lied to fucking everybody. That's just my own personal opinion. Everybody has their own opinion, but we know the reason I thought I was going there, weapons of mass destruction. th- it was bullshit. And
Mm,
so
I agree.
um yeah, so but all these dudes, some of them, it's hard to get past. And you have found your way of dealing with it, and I've found mine. You are, I would consider myself to be um spiritual and not necessarily religious, but I think you got to find something, your family, your friends, and just understand, like, yeah, we went there, we experienced some hard times, but we can't let that define the rest of our life.
No, it'll stifle you, man. These guys like live in it, and they like it's their whole identity, and it just holds them back, and it makes them like these guys are the ones that really spiral. And I get that some people, we all take things differently, and um we process and handle things. All of us are uniquely different, but I do think it's like it's like growing up in childhood, right? Like, oh, my life was so hard. I blame my dad, and if my dad would have did this differently, I'd be in college. I would have had a different life. And it's like I hear people saying that at 40. It's like,
Yeah.
bro, like that excuse is long gone, man. Like
Yeah.
you're a grown ass man, or you're a grown up. Like it's time, like to take your own accountability.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the war. And it's like, oh, if EA would have been different, and I would have got this help, or dude, it's
Yeah,
20 years ago. And I'm not taking away from, like, I still have PTSD,
for
um
sure.
and I live with it, and I've learned how to manage it, and um uh deal with it. But what really helps me is, like, I don't consider myself like I'm not a disabled veteran. Like, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm what I do for my work, and I'm spiritual too, and I believe in God, and I guess by definition I'm a Christian. So, but I try to stay away from the religion. But I believe in the Bible. I believe Jesus died for our sins, and that's really where the strength is going to come through. And but um, still take some medications to help with sleep, and still have dreams, and still have triggers. But, like, you just gotta. And a lot of people have PTSD, man. You don't have to
Yep.
just go to war. Like,
No.
none of us come through unscathed.
Yeah.
And we're all just doing the best we can, and but I just don't like excuses, and I really don't like seeing them lived out in everything you do. And I just feel like it really holds you down. And I share this with veterans, like, I don't point fingers, but I just share uh, my own experiences and what I've done, and kind of how I've chosen not to live in the image of this.
Yeah.
And I see that as a problem, especially with the monetary gain, like the monetary aspect of it. And I feel like they have to live there to keep this money coming in. Um,
And you don't. That's the thing. Like,
no, yeah,
people live this, and they act like, oh, I got to be fucking, this dude who's fucking tweaking out all the time. It's like, no, just, yeah, you've been through some hard stuff, and you deal with this stuff, but you don't have to let that be your everyday life. And you don't have to treat people like shit. You don't have to be an asshole to your wife. Like, there's so
yeah,
many guys who are just, yeah, they live it because I get my VA check, and I gotta
yeah,
live this life. And it's like, no, you're doing yourself and everybody around you a disservice. Yeah, those things happen. It's, you go to your VA appointment or whatever, answer answer things truthfully, honestly,
yeah,
don't sugarcoat it, and you're going to get whatever rating you're supposed to get. And most guys I know Like if they are just honest, they're going to get the rating they
Yeah.
deserve, and
And not to take away from guy, I mean, I know guys that have severe, and I've had two close people to me now commit suicide.
yeah.
And so I do know that like we all deal with it differently. And I don't want to take away from like people that are really struggling, but and I'm not like talking about that. And we're both on the same page. And
Yeah.
it's those, we know the guys we're talking about.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
yeah, they're just like, they're still wearing combat boots with jeans. It's like,
Yeah.
bro,
20
come on,
years
man.
later, you're like,
Yeah.
I actually still have my boots, and every once in a while I put them on just to, relive my
Yeah.
youth. But yeah, it's but there's a lot of dudes out there, man, who need help, and they don't, that's the only identity they have. And you got to do other things. You got to, you know, the cliche, you got to work out, you got to eat right, but you got to
That's
find
not a
other
cliche.
hobbies, man. You got to find other hobbies, whatever it is, jujitsu, freaking working out, like just your church or meditation,
Yeah.
yoga, whatever works for you. Um,
Community.
you have to be around other
Yeah.
people. You
You
cannot
can't isolate.
isolate. Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen so many of my friends that have isolated themselves, and
That
it's
never
not
ends
good,
good.
man. No,
Mm.
it's never good. And there is help for veterans, and you don't have to go to the VA, man. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the VA. They've treated me good, and I get the medical care I need out there. But my doctor, this I've had 3 appointments with my doctor scheduled in the last like 5 months, and every time they reschedule it, they're overwhelmed, and so there can be improvements for sure, but you know, don't.
Well, I work in the public healthcare sector, and being a veteran and getting going to the VA for all my healthcare, we're spoiled, dude.
Yeah.
Like I feel extremely grateful. Yeah, I mean, there's things that they could do better, but in the public, like we're a mess.
Oh yeah.
Um, but the VA, like, I need a medication. I call them, dude. I get it mailed to me the next day. I need tests. I need diagnostic. Like, it gets ordered. I get it.
Yeah.
And like in the public sector, dealing with private insurance, like it's got to be approved. And it could, if you need an MRI, it could take 3 to 6 months to get an MRI.
Yeah.
In the VA, like I'm dealing with a herniated disc right now. I had an MRI within 3 days.
That's
Like
pretty
that's
impressive.
unheard of. Like so, for sure, the VA has its issues, and the guy, and I don't know him personally. He was on the news and stuff, so I'm going to share it. It was 15 years ago. He waited so long that he was having a heart attack or something. They made him wait. It happened in Arizona, and he died in the waiting room.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was a big deal. It made national news, and it kind of like the VA since then has been like really trying to change things, and they got a long ways to go, but
Yeah,
no, VA's been
it's
awesome.
definitely, yeah, they definitely better than they used to be, and
Yeah,
I
for
I don't
sure.
have any major complaints by any means. I mean, I'd like to be able to get in a bit more, but I know that if something was going haywire, I could go to urgent care, I could go to the ER, and they would pick up that bill. So, it,
Yep.
you know, and that's not for every veteran, So,
No.
um, I know some veterans like my buddy Greg, he did 25 years, something like that. He was a master sergeant. Dude, he can't even get rated for tinnitus. And he worked as a on a missile radar operator. They're shooting off freaking missiles right next to him. He legit has so many issues and can't get service connected for any of them. He's been fighting for freaking 15 years, and it's because he doesn't have the right paperwork, he doesn't have the right deployments. He was active duty in Bosnia, just so it's kind of hit and miss. Some guys it's a breeze, other guys it's a pain in the ass. I have a friend right now who he he has cancer all over the place, man. I mean, horrible cancer, brain cancer,
Mm.
lymphoma, just it spread everywhere, and he
That's
he
what
signed up.
my buddy had that
Yeah, so
around the burn pits and stuff.
yep.
And ended up he unfortunately took his own life.
Oh,
But
I mean, at that point,
mhm,
kind of understand. But this guy, I mean, he got very lucky, but he filed claims and nothing was happening. Nothing was happening for like 6 months, and finally he's talking to me about it. I'm like, dude. So I was able to get a hold of Greg Walden, who's our state senator here, and boom, within I don't know a month, he was 100%, and they're taking care of
good.
him. He got brain surgery down at Stanford, and they removed it. He's doing really really well, but a lot of it, has to do with just knowing how to jump through hoops and who to contact and everything. So, um,
Community, man. You can't do it alone.
no, hey, I'm
Yeah,
gonna put,
you helped me a lot, and going through all that when I first got, I didn't know anything. I honestly thought like going through the military, like I would never ever step foot in the VA.
yeah,
I'm 22 years old. I'm not going to the hospital. Yeah, I know I got benefits, but I'm not going to take any hand-downs. Like I'm going to work for
no,
everything I got. I'm going to use my own insurance. Not realizing like I earned this insurance. I earned it. It's not being given to me. Like that's why we joined the military is to get VA benefits.
yeah, for sure.
And
And
I
when we
earned every
left,
bit of it.
uh,
So like I said, being alone is the worst place to be, and for anybody, you don't like. I'm not just going, trying to, reach out to the veteran community,
for
everybody, men
sure.
in general, and kind of things that I do to, be the best man I can be. And there's just, when I get on YouTube and I look at different podcasts and the messages they're putting out for men, it's just a bunch of clowns putting on a clown costume and, sending out the wrong messages, man. And
Yeah.
especially like when it comes to women. And I don't know. I just think that, you know, um, I wish, and I'm sure there's some real podcasters out there, and I'm just not seeing them. They're not the famous ones,
Yeah.
but I wish there was different messages being sent out. But some of it I agree with. I think you should work out, um, work hard. You don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to buy a Bugatti, and you don't need 10 girlfriends. All from Dubai. Like,
No,
yeah, I'm
definitely
married.
not from Dubai.
I'm married to my wife. We respect each other, and there's a lot of that. That's a podcast all in itself. But um, yeah, so that's kind of what was leading me there. And then McCoy called me, and we were talking about podcasts, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, I want to like." I was seriously thinking about starting one soon, and he's like, "Oh, we could co-host," and I'm like, "Absolutely, that'd be awesome." And so I went and bought all the equipment, and it actually showed up yesterday. Got it in boxes right here, right
and,
behind me.
and here you are, man. You're
And
podcasted, so it
I
worked.
quit before I started, but yeah, I'm down to like be on here as much as I possibly can, and support you and
No, I
like
appreciate it, man. And obviously tonight we just kind of touched on a few little things. You have a huge background and tons of experience in all kinds of different fields, and have a ton of life wisdom you can share with people. And I appreciate like all of the talks we've had. I've been, I feel like I've been on a podcast with you for 15 years. So
yeah,
we have hours long conversations about all kinds of stuff, starting businesses, all, whatever. And every conversation has been a positive one, and very beneficial to me. And I very much appreciate everything that you've done for me, and that you've done for the veteran community, and for your community, working in hospitals, and you know supporting Operation Surf. Like, you've been an very outstanding, upstanding guy, and I do appreciate you so much, more than you can imagine. So thanks for being number two on my podcast. I hope
thanks for
you
having me, man.
I hope you'll come back. Um,
I
and
will.
I'd love to chat with you some more, man. Thanks, Neil.
It sounds good, man. See you soon.
All right, see ya.